And welcome back to Let's Play Super Mario Galaxy. Last time we finished up Gusty Garden Galaxy and entered Freeze Flame Galaxy. Now we haven't actually seen this, but this is what Mario's idle animation looks like, which, if you have been following the series for a really long time, you'll know that's basically Mario's idle animation in most games. His idle animation is always just him kind of falling asleep. In Mario... what was that game called? Mario... yeah, I think it was 64, where he'll actually kind of mumble things in his sleep. Which I seriously suspect was just Charles Martinet kind of gassing around. If I had to make an actual guess on why he has lines, like talking about pasta in his sleep. Again, that's complete conjecture on my part, but I feel like it's not too unlikely based on apparently what he's like, because I've heard very good things about what he's like. By the way, this is actually the first okay, that's backwards. This is not the first canonical appearance of the Ice Flower, the power-up that lets us transform into the Stingy, Ice Mario. The first canonical appearance of Ice Mario was Mario and Luigi Partners in Time. Yes, there was an Ice Flower, which basically was to give you... it's basically because that game has an elemental weakness system, sort of rudimentary one. I think I'm dead. I don't know how I survived that. And then I immediately get killed. Well then. And luckily though, they don't start us at the very bottom of the level. They start us at the boss, so that's nice of them. I was really afraid I was gonna have to cut back to when I actually got to the top of the mountain again. So yeah, the first appearance was Mario and Luigi Partners in Time, and there was a Bros attack, or Bros item? I think there were items in that game. Were they? Or were they attacks? I'm trying to remember, I haven't played Mario and Luigi Partners in Time in a while. Because Partners in Time was always the one I played the least. Of the original trilogy, I should specify. I never really got into it that much. I think it was just because I set my expectations too high, because Partners in Time was one of those games that I was like... kind of put on a pedestal in terms of looking forward to it. So I think that's why, because I had such high expectations for it and it just could not live up to them. But even going back, I feel like it's the least playable in terms of like replaying. Like I cannot go back to that one because the plot just feels kind of... how to describe it even? It's like... yeah, I'm at a loss for describing this thing, because it's like... it's not a bad game. I should just put it like that. It's not a bad game. It's actually a pretty solid game if you ask me. But again, for some reason, I just can't really get into it. Oh, this level. This level's cool. But it's also one of those weird Cosmic Mario levels that really is kind of self-contained in its own little section of the map. That's not really connected to anything else in the level. Yeah, you can see the mountain over there, and yeah, the mountain feels like a Super Mario 64 level, and I don't... in this case, I don't really mean that as a compliment. By the way, don't get the boost here would be my advice, because if you get the boost here, you're most likely gonna like fly off the edge. So yeah, I would advise against actually getting a boost here. Contrary to logic in terms of racing. Oh, it's like, oh, you want a boost arc, but yeah, that can actually send you spiraling out of control. But yeah, Partners in Time is a fine game. It's just my least favorite next to Dream Team because, again, I think I put too much writing on it. I'm happy Bowser's On-Site Story was good, and I don't know if it's because it was coming off of Partners in Time, or if it's just legitimately really good. I don't know, because I've heard mixed things about all the series, practically. Like literally, there's not a single game in the Mario & Luigi series I haven't heard some conflicting opinion about. So yeah, I'm really not entirely sure how much of it's me, and just the age I played Superstar Saga at versus the age I played Partners in Time at. And then the expectations for Partners in Time leading into Bowser's Inside Story, meaning I like that game a lot better. Or are certain games in this series just objectively stronger? I think my biggest problem with Mario & Luigi Partners in Time is it takes itself too seriously. And the humor, it just doesn't work. I think that's my biggest complaint, that they try to go for humor in Partners in Time. I think this is actually it. I think that's actually the reason. Because they have this humor, but the humor never really lands in Mario & Luigi Partners in Time compared to the other games. Because most of the attempts at humor just sort of come down to stuff about like Baby Mario and Baby Luigi. And I don't know, it just doesn't work as well. Maybe it's like too crowded of a game. And like the villains aren't funny at all. At least, well, I'm trying to think. Does Bowser have any good lines in that game? And honestly, I'm drawing a blank. I don't think Bowser has any particularly like memorable moments out of that game, which is the usual thing because he's usually the standout player in all these games. So now we're heading into the sun practically, and different music actually. I like how the music is the same, but it's also a bit different to reflect a different style. Like this music doesn't feel cold, and that feels odd describing music relating to temperature, but that's the best way I can come up with. Like the music in the ice version kind of feels cold. I guess it's kind of the same thing. No, it's Metroid Prime where I was talking about Let's Play stuff. That's right. That wasn't Phantom Hourglass. I don't know what I was even talking about last video. I was talking about something relating to Let's Playing, but I also completely forgot what I was talking about. It's weird not being able to retain information. So Fire Mario is on a timer, which obviously leaves people somewhat divided as a gameplay mechanic. Though, to be fair, I haven't really heard anybody be like, yeah, Mario & Luigi, or like, that Fire Mario in this game is not good, or anything. I just have heard nothing on it. It's just, people don't talk about the power-ups that much, and that's all actually a problem I have with this game, is the power-ups don't really matter, and that's kind of weird. Because when you think Mario, you probably think power-ups to some extent down the road, other than like jumping. But yeah, the Mario & Luigi series, going back to that, one of those things where I have not played all of them. I've only played the first few. I have not played Paper Jam. Dream Team was fine, except for how broken the final bosses were. And I don't like using that term in a serious fashion in gaming, because people just do it as a buzzword, like, oh, that's broken, when a lot of stuff is just really, like, it takes a lot for me to say that the controls in the game are broken, let's put it that way. But I would say that some of the controls in Mario & Luigi Dream Team were actually broken. I was having a ridiculous time on one of the final bosses because you have to use telecontrols with the 3DS. And for the life of me, I couldn't get them to work. It took me 4 or 5 attempts, I want to say, to complete this boss because the controls just kept bugging out. And to the point where, like, the boss was unbeatable. So yeah, that definitely dampened my experience with that game quite a bit. I don't know, Dream Team was fine though. It was just kind of more blah compared to Bowser's Inside Story. I think I was just trying to be Bowser's Inside Story 2.0, which was actually part of my problem. Is I was trying a little bit too hard to just be the next big thing for the series. And then Paper Jam was just a very safe game, from what I hear in general. So, yeah. Because it was just being very safe. It's trying to be a very just normal entry in the series, in both series. And like, I don't know, just didn't land apparently. In terms of execution. I hear it's executed well, it's just there's not much to execute well. It's just so like safe to the point of like there's not even anything worth getting excited about, kind of. And you know, a lot of games are safe. And safe isn't one of those things where it's like saying something is safe, that's a bad thing. No, not at all. A lot of games can be safe, but still really, really good. I'm trying to think of an example. Like, I've heard about for movies, Wonder Woman, for example, said to be a very safe superhero movie, but it's actually really well executed, so it doesn't matter if it kind of plays it safe and kind of doesn't break ground. But it's just a solid movie because it takes the typical kind of movie, superhero movie genre and does a good job with it. It doesn't matter that it's like innovative or fresh or whatever, but it's just, yeah, it's just well done. And you know, that's the thing with Paper Jam. I hear it's better executed than, say, some of the Mario and Luigi series and also some of the Paper Mario series, but it's also just very unexciting because this is very status quo. No original characters, no like really outrageously popular moments or anything. Oh, this is where the Cosmic Mario race comes from. That's weird actually, because like we did the race before we saw the level that the race is based on. Anyway, if you can tell, I'm not really the biggest fan of this level, based on the fact that I'm not actually talking about the level. I'm just talking about Mario and Luigi and other things. It's just, there's not a whole lot to talk about with this level, I feel like. Like with Super Mario Galaxy, okay, here's my problem. In a level like, in a game like 64, you'd have a big expansive level, but you'd also be getting power stars constantly. In this game, you have a big expansive level, but you're not really accomplishing a whole lot. You're basically, like in that big mountainy region, there's like the purple coins later on, like I said last time. But other than that, and the first star you get in this region, that's about it. There's not a whole lot other than that. So you have this big mountain you have to climb to get a star, but that's the only star there. It's, I think, part of the reason why I do have issues with some, and I repeat, some of Galaxy's design choices. Is Galaxy a good game? Yes, it's a fantastic game, but it's just, for me it's hard to, because people always lump all these games together and then put 3D World and 3D Land into their own category. I think Galaxy should go in its own category as well. So I don't think you can actually fairly compare Galaxy to 64 Sunshine. Even though it has the 120 stars and has a lot of the same sort of progression, it's still not similar enough in my opinion to actually call it, yeah, this is more that. It's the same logic or same argument I use for like Paper Mario as well, that's like it's such a diverse series that's hard to really put a label on what counts as a traditional Paper Mario game, because there was 2 traditional Paper Mario games, and they're both really good, mind you, but at the same time, okay, we might die here. At the same time, Super Paper Mario is really fantastic, but just in a completely different way than than Thousand Door, the first game. Are they good games? Yes. Are they all good games? That's debatable. But Super Paper Mario is at least really good, but it's completely comparable to the other 2, in my opinion. You can't just say, oh, Super Paper Mario is the best Paper Mario, because it's not trying to be a Paper Mario, effectively. It's trying to do its own thing, which is totally okay, because it does its own thing well, which is always the argument I hold for when people are like, well, oh wait, we have to skate on that. So I'm gonna wait till it recharges. But people have this argument that Super Paper Mario is what led to the decline of the series. And I would say no, because here's the thing, they were innovating, but they also innovated well, so it didn't matter that they innovated. That wasn't just Bowser Door 2, because it was done well. When you get into Paper Jam or Sticker Star territory, then you can possibly debate, yeah, they screwed things up. Because it doesn't feel like a Paper Mario at all. In a lot of parts. As I would argue, Sticker Star is an okay, like, standalone game. It doesn't really feel like a Paper Mario at all. But the reason it's bad is not because it's a bad game in its own right. It just doesn't fit in with the rest of the series. It doesn't do anything that makes it feel like where you say this is a Paper Mario game, other than, oh look, they're all flat. But it's not just the aesthetics for Paper Mario that make the game what it is. It's a lot of things, the sort of charm and charisma of the series, and that's kind of where I have an issue with Sticker Star, not with like a lot of the other stuff that people bring up. Like the gameplay, I feel like wasn't awful if the story wasn't also non-existent, because that's why I play these games. Super Paper Mario's gameplay is the worst of the series at that point. It was a lot worse than Bowser Door, at least, or the first game. But the thing that sets that apart is the story was really fantastic and is arguably the best in the series. Arguably, being the operative term. Because you could debate, Bowser Door has a decent story. But I don't know, I think Super Paper Mario has the best story of any of the series. We're back in the first star, by the way. Maybe I should talk about the game instead of other games. But yeah, we're back in the first level. There's another star. I think it's at the top of the mountain. We have to kind of go around the back side of it, I think. If I'm not mistaken. I remember this, I swear. I have played this game before. I promise I have. Even though sometimes it doesn't really feel like it. And I fully admit that I definitely should practice this game more. But yeah, this is also the argument I use for Final Fantasy, because a lot of people get upset when Final Fantasy games radically reinvent themselves every time, and yeah, I can understand that maybe they should just stick to a good thing when they get it. But also, I don't detract the games if they're done well. If 15 was good, I'm not saying it is or not, because I haven't actually played it. I'm reserving judgment on 15, but if 15's good, I don't have a problem with it being, like, modern. I don't have a problem with it being, as people say, like, a boy band. If it's a good game. If it's well done, if the characters are likable, if the overall package is good. I couldn't care less about if it's a boy band crew or not, if it's a good game. And still kind of feels like a Final Fantasy, even though it's doing something radically different. The problem with 15, from what I've heard, is a lot of the execution, specifically pre-patch, was a little bit iffy. So that's where I would say that's what it's a problem, and not because it's not a true Final Fantasy, air quotes, but because just certain design decisions weren't very good. Barely made that timer. Okay, so we have made it to this part. We're almost at the top of the mountain, but yet again, we're gonna have to end off here because I would like to keep these under 20 minutes. But in any case, thank you for. Can I trick this out actually? It doesn't. Actually, it feels like I can if I time it right. Wow, I just skipped a huge chunk of the level. Well, would you look at that? But I don't have a fire flower, so we're kind of stuck at this point. But in any case, thank you for watching, and I hope you join me next time for more Super Mario Galaxy.